Can we even see you?
I mean, we got adjusted to the.
That's us. It says we're live.
Okay.
I don't know if we're really live because that. I'm gonna check and see if it's real. I'm really gonna eat those ratings.
So,
Good morning to anyone that's watching.
health and wellness. What's it about?
We are indeed live this morning to talk about all that's been happening here in the Capital District, right?
Yeah, while you do all that tech stuff, I'll say good morning to everyone. Hope y'all doing well. It's Monday. We back. A whole lot has happened this week. A whole lot's gonna happen this coming week. And moving forward, we back in that season. It's a lot of nonsense that needs to be addressed.
Indeed, there's a lot that needs to be addressed.
You know, just for clarity, yes, I'm eating raisins. I got my hoodie on. I ran today. Worked out. That health and wellness is wild important. I hope y'all are trying to make your, I guess, do the best you can with your health and your wellness, because you have to be healthy to fight this fight.
We've got a lot of work to do, and to be able to get it done, we've got to be able to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
And like I always say, take care of each other.
Yes,
Oh, because good Lord, Kathy Sheehan and Chief Hawkins and Chief Clifford and Gary McCarthy and the whole crew of people. Yeah, there we are, live and in color. Good morning, Danielle and Daisy and Catherine and Danny and anyone whose name I'm missing right now. Good morning to those that are watching us live on Facebook. This is also streaming live on our YouTube channel. And today we're talking about Occupy. That was in Albany. And then what happened with Schenectady putting its nose in its business as well.
Yeah.
Where shall we start?
I mean, I guess recap for those just tuning in, how it all started, how that march, was I think a collaboration of folks coming together, led by Legacy Casanova.
Yep.
Brought a lot of people together to have, to I guess, to commemorate the unity that we had last year, and just to, I think, continue to I guess, show the community, show each other that we still in this fight and we in this fight together. Started at Townsend Park, went from Townsend Park, marched down to the South Station, and then that's where.
And this was April 14th.
Yes.
Just so folks know, we are now at April 26th.
Yes.
But on April 14th is when the march kicked off.
Yeah, 12. Yep, 12. Here we are 12 days later. And they get down to the South Station, marching, doing what we do.
Chanting.
And here comes the cops. Here comes the interaction with the police.
Lieutenant Anderson. Who, as Chief Hawkins would like folks to believe, was trying to de-escalate the situation. That's the word that Chief Hawkins is using over and over again, which is a lie. There was no de-escalation that happened. And the videos all over the place. There's videos on our page. There's videos on individual page. Individual pages. Also, I know that Troy for Black Lives was down there, Youth FX, Center for Law and Justice.
Shout out to Ballroom, that video that he captured, so important.
All of the days. But that Wednesday, Lieutenant Anderson hit Chandler Hickenbottom in the mouth with the bullhorn. That was the biggest part of the escalation. It wasn't the only part. And then they pepper sprayed, bear sprayed, used chemical agents against the folks that were there, including a 14-year-old child.
Yep.
And resulting from that, young organizers came together and said, this isn't going to stand. Had another march that Saturday and occupied and stayed for 6 days, which was beautiful. Yeah. It was beautiful because it wasn't just an occupation to say that Anderson, who has been a problem in Albany for a long time, I myself heard from local residents living in the South End who talked about their experience with Anderson before he was a lieutenant.
Yeah.
but now he's lieutenant. He was already causing harm just as a beat cop, beating folks up. And there are accusations of sexual assault as well against Lieutenant Anderson.
All that going on.
All that going on in the South End. And so the organizers that came down there and occupied, and were feeding the homeless, giving shelter and care to individuals in the South End. Tent City went up, and there are photos of that on the page. Got up to 12 tents. There were heaters, just all kinds of supplies and stuff. And the word was that Hawkins said, y'all can just mind your business. We're not going to bother you. That was the word. That was the word that was coming in. That, okay, y'all just, you're being peaceful. Peaceful ain't quiet. Until what?
Well, I mean,
Thursday?
Until they decided that, they were going to remove the camp with force, which is exactly what they did. Now, mind you, there has been misinformation coming from the mayor and the chief from the very beginning, with the escalation being placed squarely on the folks that were protesting in both instances from the very beginning of it.
Yeah.
And then to the point where they were removing the tents and the equipment and the food and the water, all that stuff that was there that ended up getting destroyed. And I know the chief said, hey, they can get their stuff back. But you picked it up with a bulldozer and dumped it into the back of a dump truck. I don't think anyone's going to be getting any of that stuff back anytime soon.
Well, not just that. People then went where they were told to go.
Yeah.
And there was no access to it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, hey, we're here to get our stuff.
Yeah, that's including folks' medication and all that stuff happened. But
thousands of dollars.
So I just want to, so that's all that happened. And on top of it, they actually arrested several people.
Yes.
For anything ranging from, disorderly conduct, I believe, to other charges. And that's a fight that's happening now. And those young people that were involved, those young people that stood as the vanguard on the front lines, just wanting to have their piece, heard. Yep. And I remember they asked for a conversation.
Yes.
They said, "Yo, we just want to talk because this thing is wrong. What they did to Chandler, it was wrong, right?
Yeah.
And others. How they escalated was wrong. Yeah.
And cameras and badges that were removed. They asked for a conversation with the chief and the mayor.
Yeah.
Does that seem unreasonable? That organizers who had been harmed by the police department asked to have a conversation with the chief of police and the mayor, those who are in positions of power, and relegated to controlling the police department.
And of course that was too much to ask, and it was better. It was easier for them to do what they did, move with brutality and force as opposed to a conversation. That, I'll be honest, when you think about what all that happened, if they just don't engage and let folks speak their piece, none of that even happens in the first place, right? Because the idea that somehow that wasn't even a planned action. That happened because of the reaction of the police.
Yep.
Right? And that's what we see continue to happen time and time again, as you often like to say. So the police also come out, and then the next statement is, okay, now we when they wanted a space to protest, now we created a space for them to protest, which is, I think, it's kind of insensitive to the brutality in which some of those people were arrested, the loss of all of that property.
Because they care so much about property.
Yeah, you care so much about property, but it's not when it's someone else's property, not the property of the people that were there.
Right, because they were upset about the chalk that was on their building.
Chalk on the building.
That you defaced property. They were upset about that, and they cleaned that off, which took like how long, right? To take the sidewalk chalk off the building. Same issue with Schenectady. You can't put chalk on a building that's harmful. But we can harm Black and brown bodies, which is exactly what they did again. And the video is there. I feel like I just want to talk about this more. The fact that Chief Hawkins and Mayor Sheehan went on camera and said, Well, here are snippets of a video that we have. And what you see here is, right, Hawkins did his, what you're about to see. Let me just lay this out for you. Let me tell you.
It was propaganda.
That it was propaganda. Chief Hawkins, what you did was propaganda.
Propaganda.
Kathy Sheehan, what you are promoting is propaganda. The uncut video footage is all over the internet, including all over the All of Us Facebook page. There's lots of video.
And remember, we're talking about two different videos. So we're talking about the
multiple
the incident
on Wednesday
that sparked off the encampment, and now we have the video that shows the police using force to remove
the people
from the camp.
And destroying the camp.
Watching
police officers tear down tents in the city, right? City workers take the property and throw it away. They destroyed property. We watched the city of Albany destroy property of activists, organizers, homeless folks, because there were homeless people that had their property there. That's what the city of Albany did after saying, well, no, first after they blocked off access to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Because the first thing they did before they tore down the encampment, before their 15-minute warning, they said, we're going to put up barricades because we need to make access to the sidewalk. The sidewalk that wasn't blocked, the sidewalk that was directly in front of South Station, had never been blocked until the police came and put up barricades. They had city workers put up barricades that blocked off the sidewalk. You couldn't get to the sidewalk. They created the barricade to the sidewalk.
And they said it was the intention of, we just want folks to be able to come to the station. Could you not beef with us about it? That's what they told the organizers.
Yep.
We just want to create this space so folks can have access to the station. We're going to clean off the walls, because there was chalk on the walls. We're going to clean that off, and we want people to make space, which was never what they were actually trying to do. What they were trying to do was to create that space so that they could remove the camp in the violent way they did.
And they never made it accessible, because the one person that did come to the station, that when I was there, she said, how do I get in?
There wasn't no way to get in.
With the barricades up, they caged it off.
It was, like I said, they weren't intending for it to be. So what they said was a lie. That wasn't what their intention was. They wanted to barricade it so that they can come in and do what they did. That's pretty much it.
And then brutalize Black and brown bodies, which all of the video is there for folks to see.
So
what do we do now?
What do we do next? Exactly. So what's next, right? So what's next? What's happening? A lot of the folks that were involved, that were arrested, are taking space and time for themselves.
Yes.
Taking a break, because it's a lot. Doing this work is a lot. Going to jail is a lot. Being attacked by several grown-ass fucking people, jumped on, cuffed, and dragged off is a lot.
Michaela Foster had, 4 or 5 police officers on their body?
Being misgendered is a lot. Having that also being compounded by our local media is a lot. There's just a lot going on, and they need that break. So we are here, always in support capacity to make sure that those folks are good and to continue to get the message out there as much as possible to talk with the community. We work with all the other organizations that are part of this fight: Youth FX, Center for Law and Justice, Red Bookshelf. They do their work in Elevate 518 and any of the others that have come to the table to support this fight, because it's about South Station, but it's about so much more that's going on in the city as well. Because South Station is an example of
symptom.
Of what's going on more broadly throughout the city in each ward, right? Yep. Where you see populations of Black and brown, the over-policing, the brutality of the police, et cetera, on down the line. And there has to be more work done in addressing all these different aspects, I think, moving forward.
And what South Station did compounded what the city council had done. The city council had an opportunity to vote on a ban of tear gas, something that the city of Albany residents have been calling for and fighting for over a year after what happened in 2020 and the harm that was caused. And the overwhelming majority of folks are saying full ban on tear gas. And the city council had before it the opportunity to vote and ban tear gas, with Mayor Kathy Sheehan saying, if you fully ban tear gas, I'm going to veto it. that doesn't mean you don't vote on it and ban it. Like, let the people know where you as a city council stands.
Mhm.
And then let us, the people, worry about whether or not we got to handle Kathy trying to veto it, right? Let organizers and residents do what they do to ensure that it stays and that she signs it into law. But that's not what the city council did with everything that was going on with the emotional roller coaster of the Chauvin trial, and that guilty verdict. Still, people being angry because it doesn't change anything, and the not banning tear gas and rubber bullets, and a whole bunch of money coming into the city that the city's not talking to the people about, right? All of these things are happening at the same time, while in living color, we're watching police brutality in the city of Albany, and the entire nation is seeing it. We're getting reports from New York City, from the North Country. Folks are hearing it on NPR. Like, this is not something that's being contained, nor should it be.
No, I think the message has gotten out there a lot. Like you said, we have reports like folks in Vegas, like, oh, we see the story here. Like, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that have been paying attention to what's happening here. I know the ACLU came out with a strong statement against what they saw happen, and specifically in some of the videos when
Yep.
they were tearing down the camp and arresting the protesters. So there's a lot of attention being paid to this. And we have to continue to make sure that folks hear from the folks directly on the ground what's going on, because it's too easy to get caught up in the misinformation that comes from other spaces, even the mainstream media, especially. They don't always tell those stories. Like, shout out to 5A Independent, Albany
Yep.
Proper. Like, y'all always,
Yes.
y'all always in it trying to tell what's actually happening on the ground, tell those stories, and I definitely respect that. But the ban on tear gas. People have used the misinformation or this specter of fear that they always bring up when they want to act violence. Hey, you all are getting violent, so I got to be more violent than you to stop you from being violent, which is what continues to happen. But it's all a game to them, because if you saw what the protesters were doing there, if you saw like being in community with each other, helping out the homeless when they could, just being there trying to protest what the events that happened and just asking for a conversation about it. There was never, in my mind anyway, any reason for them to have to go in the way they did.
No.
Simply having a conversation, having a discussion, like, this is what we can do, this is where we stand, this is why this happened, whatever the case. However you say it, as long as you're speaking in your truth about what's going on, you're a representative of the people. Talk to the people. They're right here.
Talk to the people. They're
right here. And I know that there's other people in the community that supported that camp. There was other people there that kept, like, there was news articles about other restaurants that wanted to support what was going on, continue to help feed people there.
Yes.
And like, that's a beautiful thing, seeing a community come together like that.
There were people that were kicked out of the mission.
Yeah.
For fraternizing with organizers.
For getting food.
For getting food from someplace else.
Right? They were told, like, you can't
So the
come
mission
in.
that complained about the encampment being there was complaining because people were helping support the people that they were helping. It's nonsense.
I mean, I saw the letter.
And for all of the complaints that came in, are you giving equitable weight to those that were supporting? The people from the community that were supporting, that were bringing food from their homes, that the businesses that were supporting, because the Children's Cafe and in Youth FX that were there supporting, right? Are you giving equity to the voices? You're listening to the white folks that are running a mission that isn't giving help to everyone.
John Perry.
Man, listen, and was it a mic or something?
I don't know, but I mean, you're listening to one segment of the community, and it's that segment that agrees more with you and is aligned with you, and then you're uplifting and say, this is why we had to do something.
Yep.
The importance of disrupting business as usual is to highlight the issues that are in our community, the issues of that are matters of life and death and quality of life as well, right? So it's not so much that it's almost as if you're like, they're there for no reason. They're there trying to address something. Why are you all even here?
Civil disobedience.
Yeah.
We did a training on it yesterday. So Mayor Sheehan and Chief Hawkins, if you would like to pay us for our time, now the one we did yesterday was free because it was for the community, but to the city of Albany and also to the city of Schenectady, because God knows y'all need it. If you would like to have a training on civil disobedience and what it is and what it's not, and the ways that folks show up, feel free to reach out, untitledandfree@gmail.com, and we'll send you a quote on what it's going to cost for our services. But this idea of this is not the way to do it.
It's easier. It's much easier steps. If you don't notice this, and I'm not the smartest man in the world, right? I don't claim to be any genius or any next level kind of clairvoyant about anything, but I'm looking at that situation and I'm seeing the escalation of it and the attention paid to it being pushed by the department and the city.
Yes.
Because if they don't react the way they do, the protesters go home, right? And they continue to fight, but they go home. They don't do all of that. If they don't ransack the camp and arrest people the way they did and have a conversation,
then it's okay for them to be there.
Then we're getting closer to the changes that we want, not further away from it.
Yeah.
Like digging in your heels and saying, no, we're going to do it like this because we can, because we have the power to do it. Simply doing something because you have the power to do is not always the right fucking thing to do. Think about what's happening here. Think about the attention. Think about what folks are you said, and I've heard the chief say it, and I've heard Kathy Sheehan say it, that they acknowledge the history. They acknowledge the lack of trust, of the community, of the department. They acknowledge that there's been so many examples of brutality, of bad faith, of all manner of bad interactions between the community and the department. We know all of this. They say they want change.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with that is that if you really want change, that was an opportunity. That was an opportunity to stand up and say, you know what? Let me come out here and talk to these folks, not the way you did last year in a more performative way, and just simply talk. And maybe that's why he didn't come. Right? Maybe that's why he didn't come, because he realized that I'm not going to be able to change things the way they want to. Right. I can only perform.
Yep.
And
I can say words, but I'm not actually going to create change. This idea that
the change we're asking for is too much.
Right. I'm not going to talk to you because I have no intentions of doing the things you want me to do. Or even like he might not even be willing to pretend to do the things. There are a couple things, a couple messages that keep being put out there that I wrote a comment about it on a couple posts, and I don't need to write something new because this is where it is. The idea that there is harm being done to the relationship between the community and the police. The idea that we need to rebuild trust, that as if there ever was trust. This idea that policing was ever a support for community. No. We did political education on the ground to talk about the beginnings of policing. We're not going to do it here, but here's the thing. There was never peace. There was always unrest, fighting against state-sanctioned violence and brutality. That includes the Haymarket riots that will be celebrated this coming Saturday for May Day in front of Albany Medical Center. It's on our page. So this Saturday, Albany Medical Center. I am speaking at that. Indeed, I am. And talking about my dear friend, Lucy Parsons. She's not my friend. She's been dead a long time, but a Black woman who helped to lead the fight against police, against the police state, and for workers' rights and for worker justice. There was no good relationship between police. Police are state-sanctioned agents who break up unions and cause harm. They are here not for the community. That's number one. Number two, it isn't a fragile relationship. I hear them say this a lot, the fragile relationship between the community and the police. It's an abusive relationship. It's a relationship where the police abuse the community. They use forms of violence against the community for the purposes of maintaining what they like to call law and order. And the third point is ban tear gas. Period. So, if anybody was confused.
I'm about to say, can I let me say something to that? Because that's an interesting statement when you say the police don't protect the communities take the interest of corporations, businesses,
Mhm.
those in power over those in the community. And when we're saying community, I mean, I'll just be I'll be flat out frank. I'm talking about black and brown and impoverished communities, period.
Yep.
Because the police don't do the same things that they do there in other communities. So let's just be clear.
Yes.
I'm not talking about, so there's a reason why
Thank you.
that person in a different community is looking at us like we're crazy. Because for them,
Yep.
the relationship is entirely different. They don't have the same issues. They are oftentimes our friends and colleagues and family and etc. So they see us and like, well, what are you talking about?
So confused.
That's my son-in-law. That's my friend. That's my whatever.
Yeah.
And we know, and all of this stuff down and down and down the line. And that may be true for you. For us, it's an entirely different thing. Yeah. And I'm not going to continue. I'm not. So this is my lived experience. Jamaica's lived experience. All the folks that are coming out in the streets, their lived experience. Some of them who have, have, been through so much trauma in their life based on what happens with the police department.
Yep.
And their reaction there. So that's the community we're talking about mainly.
Yes.
Not to say that even you in that community can't get abused or harmed, because it doesn't matter. It can happen there too.
Absolutely.
When you have that type of authority and power, and it goes unchecked, it can be, and this is why we need the third-party entities like the CPRB and other community-based oriented third-party interventions to make sure that we can hold folks accountable that are doing that type of harm in our community. But even, like I said, even you can suffer the damage or harm from the police. You ain't safe either.
You're not, because the fact that they have that power over anyone means they have that power over everyone. Yeah. It's that right now their targets are very specific, but if push came to shove, you would get the exact same treatment. Yeah. Like your privilege only goes so far. I want to pause and remind folks, Local Law J for the Civilian Police Review Board, which passed in Albany through the City Council, will be up for a vote in November. For it to be enacted into law, it needs to pass through in November. So we still have work to do on the ground in the city of Albany to ensure that the residents who are registered voters, and also, is anybody working on registering more voters for November? Because you got time for the November elections to register folks to be able to come out and vote for Local Law J. There's also some seats that are up.
Electoral politics.
Mayor's seat is up. City council seats are up. Y'all got some choices. Be informed voters. Know who you're voting for. Make a decision. Local Law J isn't a done deal yet until we get through November. For the Civilian Police Review Board to actually have independent investigative powers, to have a budget to actually do the work, and the power to be a part of the disciplinary process. Said what? Because the Civilian Police Review Board, both in Albany and Schenectady right now, gets to review what the police did for their investigation. That's it. And it's worse in Schenectady because Schenectady still isn't even getting the unredacted files and the jacket of the officer. Yeah. At least in Albany, they're like, "Hey, we want to see his file."
This is insane, considering that, like, that's another
all of this
that has to continue to go on, because, I mean, that's ridiculous, and that's one of the things that folks were asking for. Like, yo, we need a database, right? Because we have the repeal of 58. Now these things are public record. We need a database that community has access to,
proactive,
to see the people that claim to be the protectors of the community.
Yes.
When they jack it up, or when they are being harmful, or when they do things that are wrong, some sort of misconduct, the community needs to know about it.
You don't need to wait for us to ask.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to foil the record of every single officer.
But we will. Let's be clear.
But many people already are.
Yeah.
What up to Albany proper? Because they were like on the ground for both Schenectady and Albany, like, who's this, who's that? Which brings us to a point, and I know we're running on time, but let's bring it back to Albany and what the officers are doing with their badge numbers.
That's another.
Because we're talking about the fact that the community should know what is the history of every officer? How many complaints were filed against them? Was there any disciplinary action? And this would include unfounded accusations. If someone makes an accusation, it should be public record, whether or not the police believe it to be founded, right? We now have photos and video of officers using tape to cover the numbers on their badges.
Yeah.
How are you filing a complaint against an officer when you don't know who it was? Albany.
Seems to be the point of it seems to be the point of the officers to try to cover up the name. They don't want you to know.
Where's the investigation into that,
There
Kathy?
is no investigation into that
Hawkins.
because they've already said that it was justified. They
How
said
is it
they
justified?
allowed, let me finish. They said they allowed officers to do that, at least from the reading that I saw. And I want to say it's not my own personal knowledge, but what I've read is that the officers were allowed to do that because they didn't want to be, what's the word the kids use? Doxxed, right? They didn't want to be looked up or whatever in the action, right? It had nothing to do with trying to hide their identity for any other reason, but because they were doing that, they didn't want to be doxxed in the
Y'all
action.
are public
Crazy.
servants.
Exactly.
You don't get to hide. If you want your personal business to stay personal and not to be in the public, find another job. Go work for private security someplace, because there are those as well. But if you are a public servant doing public good, then you are privy to the public. Covering your name badge, it may be that you want to say, oh, it's because I personally don't want to be attacked for any perceived actions, or I don't want people coming looking for me. Welcome to being Black in America. This is what we live with every single day. Y'all put our shit on blast. All you got to do is be accused of something, and you talking about what we did in high school. But you covering your name badge, walking around with a gun, a taser, pepper spray, handcuffs, zip ties, and you are afraid? As they say, get out my face.
It's always the specter of fear that has allowed so much. It's used everywhere. It's used in war. Or we're afraid they're going to do this, so we need to do this first. And it's been used. It's been something that's been used in every movement for civil rights, in every movement for liberation, in every fight. It's like, yo, we're those scary people over there. We got to kill them. We got to jail them. We got to run them out of the country.
And they're people of color.
And oftentimes they are people of color, not only people of color, but definitely disproportionately impacted by this are people of color, folks that want change.
We are carrying bullhorns and cell phones.
Bullhorns and cell phones, man. Bullhorns and cell phones.
That's what we've got. It's our voices and the video footage. That's what we're using every single day. And you want other people to believe that you need to be afraid of us because we are demanding justice, because we're demanding change.
I mean, if they're afraid, if people are afraid, then it means they don't have to listen. Don't listen to them. They're the scary people.
Right.
They don't want to really talk. They're just violent. They don't listen to that. Don't listen to what they're talking about. They don't really care. They don't have jobs, which is what is that line is the most ridiculous. Why do white folks always put in, and it's not all white folks, but white folks that put in the chat, go get a job. I'm just thinking to myself, like, why is that the go-to?
One, you're assuming folks don't have jobs.
Of course.
And two, you're assuming that if someone doesn't have a job, it's because they don't want to work, don't try to work. You don't think about the systems and structures that prevent them from having work.
And does a job preclude you from fighting or standing up for justice? So if I got a job, I don't have time to fight for what's right anymore?
Listen, when I worked at Girls Inc., and I was working 40 hours a week, I was volunteering 40 hours a week. I also used my vacation time and personal time to lobby at the state capitol. Had a job, just saying. I do want to talk about what's next, right? How do we move forward? What are the things that people need to be looking out for? What are the things that we are doing, that we're going to be doing? Because as the movement is attacked from all angles, we need to attack from all angles. I say it all the time. If you are not on our email list, you need to get on our email list. because email blasts go out all the time that say, what are the ways that you can be involved? And that includes making phone calls and sending emails to elected officials, knowing if there is an action coming up, being involved. Maybe you want to donate some water or some snacks or whatever. So in the chat right now is the form for you to fill out. If you already are on our email list, but you didn't ever fill out this form, fill out the form, because then it lets us know your zip code, whether or not you want to be on our text alert list that will be up and running starting next month for rapid response moments, as well as how you want to be involved. It lets us know, do you want to volunteer? Do you want to be in person? Do you want to be in line? Do you prefer to send emails? Like, how is it that you want to be engaged so that you get the information that allows you to show up in the ways that you can on a regular basis. So that form is in the chat right now that you can fill out. Also, be on the lookout for the cash apps for the young folks.
Thanks.
Because they're potentially going to have.
Hey, if y'all watch it, put it in the chat.
Yeah. Anyone that has legal fees, potential legal fees coming up. Casey, Michaela, Queena, Lex, Samira, Chandler. And there were at least 3 other individuals that were arrested. There were some allies that were arrested.
And if you ain't
y'all need support too.
Hey, if you ain't one of the people that we said, don't put your cash app in the chat. We're gonna delete it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, if you were not arrested or harmed, like specifically for what we're talking about right now, don't be dropping cash apps for other folks. Let's make sure we get the money to where the money needs to go, directly into the hands of those individuals that we don't know what legal fees they're going to have. We are working with lawyers and the legal observers to try to find as much support as possible, but there could be fines and fees. Really what should happen is all charges should be dropped.
Facts.
And if you don't think we're showing up at every single court appearance, you outside your blue blinking mind. Because we are going to be at every single court appearance in both Albany and Schenectady. Because Schenectady wanted to, try some stuff. You forgot. This is our home. This is where we started. We're not playing Gary. We're not playing Eric. Both chiefs. Their first name is Eric. It's a thing. I will say also that if you want to support the grassroots work that all of us is doing, we do also have a link for that, because we're not funded by like major, this is not that. If you want to support all of us, we will also share that information, but look for ways to directly give to the individuals who were harmed recently.
Oh, we forgot about Bam. Bam, you too.
Yeah, for real, Bam. Bam. If you're watching Bam, please drop the Cash App, and be sure that you give what you can, right? And every amount matters, to be sure that folks have what they need and be able to show up, right? We need to be able to show up. But the bit.ly for all of us is literally support all of us. If you're looking to donate directly to all of us as an organization, we're going to be making phone calls. We're going to be sending emails. We're going to be back on the ground. Center for Law and Justice, I believe, is doing a press conference tomorrow. Shameless plug. I also have a press conference tomorrow, details to come, regarding my candidacy for school board, because I'm still running for school board for the city of Schenectady. That's still happening. The fact that other things are happening does not change the trajectory. It's both and. We're going to end state-sanctioned violence, and we're going to ensure that the city of Schenectady, the school district, spends the money the way it needs to, and that our children, all children, have a quality education. And I didn't spend 10 years fighting for that money to watch them mess it up. That's what I'm saying. Anything else?
Nah, I mean, I think I would actually next live I want to lead with that. I want people to know that hey, this thing is also happening.
This thing is also
Right?
happening.
We need to make sure that
there
we
are
have
people that are
yeah,
not happy about it.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are happy with a lot of things. And some people are happy with status quo. Well, damn, there was some people that are happy with slavery. So I mean, to be honest with
it was
you,
legal.
I'm not worried about people being happy, with the work of justice. I stand anchored firmly in my belief that we're fighting for what is right.
Absolutely.
I see it every day. I see it in my own personal life. I saw it in yours. I see it in people in the community that I talk with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe I'm standing on the side of right, and I'm gonna continue to fight as hard as I can to make sure that we get these wins.
Absolutely.
Period. Point blank. Unhappy at whoever. Look, man, I'm here.
And we're going to be on the ground talking to folks. If you want to help us come flyer and collect petition signatures around banning tear gas, around banning knee holds in Schenectady, because knee holds are legal in Schenectady again. That's happening. Again, fill out that form. Tell us you want to volunteer so we can reach out to you and find out when and where you're available, because we need boots on the ground. It's about talking to the people where they're at. They're not going to just show up.
That's my thing.
That is so his thing.
So
but
love talking
I put my boots and sneakers on and show up too. So.
No, facts, and then we all have to. But I particularly, if I have a thing, that's my thing. I love getting out there talking with the folks, talking with the community. They all have stories to tell. I told you I believe in the human potential.
Yes.
Right? It's there. You just have to sit down, listen, and let it reveal itself. Give it opportunity, man. Like, let's have those discussions. So I don't know if we're at time.
We are at time. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to get to work? Because it's work.
All right.
It takes work, and we need all of us.
Facts. All right, y'all. I'm going to finish off these raisins, eat my oranges, drink my water.
Drink water.
Drink water.
Drink water. Drink water.
Stay healthy, stay well. Talk to y'all soon.